Hey there, welcome to Burlington Buzz on the Mic. This is your host, Nicci Kadilak, and I'm here with candidate number 2 for school committee. This is Hillary Kleck. Hey, Hillary, how are ya?
Hey, Nicci, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We do these interviews every year. We've been doing it now. I think this is the 5th year that we've done these, 4th or 5th year that we've done these podcast interviews with candidates for contested roles. So we're just trying to get a feel for you.
Great.
Yeah, I'm excited
happy to tell about myself. I tell everybody I'm really an open book. I'm not always going to just come out and talk a lot, but you give me the questions, I got some answers. If not, I'll find them.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm excited to introduce you to the community. So that's, question number 1.
Yes.
Who are you? What was this defining moment that made you decide to run for school committee this year?
Yeah. So I'm Hillary Kleck, obviously. I'm a Burlington parent. I have a son at Fox Hill in the elementary school, and then a daughter who's 21 who we've worked with the special education system with the district. So she goes to Perkins School for the Blind. Mm-hmm. She was born blind, multiple disabilities developmentally. So she goes there, but Lucas is at Fox Hill and loves it. So I've always been, I'm going to say interested, it's a passion. It's just part of who I am, I think, as far as education. My parents pushed me to learn and just be who I wanted to be. But, they pushed me at school for sure to get good grades because they thought I could. And, that's what we do with our kids. I mean, I think we're in just a challenging place, I think, a time right now, that I just feel like I can be someone. I really love to listen and hear others' experiences. I feel like my experience is pretty unique, for having raised my daughter and all the things we've been through, and ins and outs of education and everything that kind of intertwines with that. It's our everyday lives. It's not just, can't just put it in a box and be like, oh, this is education. There's so many parts of our lives that come into play there.
And as a parent, I think as a parent, especially to a child with more needs than the average child, it just does become your life.
Yes.
You have to become an expert in all of the things that are going on with your kid.
Yes, 100%. And you stay up late nights and you learn things you never thought you'd learn before.
Join all of the Facebook groups.
Yes, exactly. And there's so much more now than when my daughter was younger. But yeah, so it was just a time. Now that my daughter is 21, she'll be transitioning to another program. She can only go to Perkins till she's 22. But and I've always been very involved in the CPAC and a million things at Perkins.
CPAC, Special Education
Yes.
Parent Advisory Council, for those not in the know.
Thank you very much. And so, and now that Lucas is in 4th grade, and it's just been a good time for me personally, where I feel like I can commit the time and energy and everything that, this position warrants and deserves. So it just felt like a good time to be able to kind of make that jump myself into the public school system education.
Great. And that's a great segue to what, as you see it, is the role of a school committee member, and what is not the role of a school committee member? Yes,
that's a good question. It's actually a question, going around and getting signatures and talking with other people before everything was all official. That was a lot of the question came up repeatedly, was what does the school committee actually do? Mm-hmm. So I did look it up, actually, the policies, just to see what exactly are the responsibilities of the school committee. So I mean, I see where I come in and what I would bring to the school committee. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I feel like the school committee, and schools in general, public schools, we all come from so many different backgrounds, and experiences, and children with different interests and learning profiles, and it's a big job for everyone involved. So I see the school committee as what I would want to bring is more of listening and more proactive engagement. I think the school committee is is doing a great job. I mean, like, look how great our schools are now, and our students are succeeding. I just see that role as kind of helping lead the leadership, the superintendent, the Office of Learning, Teaching and Learning. Let's kind of be not fill gaps, but be the bridge between those offices and leadership with families, parents, the community.
Great. The Burlington High School debt exclusion vote.
Yes.
We've been through the ringer with Burlington High School the last several years. It was a 2-year process with a school building committee to try to put forth a plan that the community could get behind. And in the end, the community did not get behind it. What do you see as far as the next steps, and how, as a school committee, would you shepherd those next steps forward?
Yeah, I mean, I know right now they're going through the next application for funding, the MSBA application, which looking at the research, it feels not promising. Looking at all the other schools, or a lot of other schools in the state that, are probably in a worse position than we are. So that's, disappointing. I don't think it hurts trying to get it. I mean, it would make sense. You don't want to miss out on money.
Sure, it's a high percentage reimbursement for a high, hundreds of $1 million project.
Yeah, so it's not something we just want to be like, oh, we're not going to even do that or try. That doesn't make sense to me. But as far as, what do we do to move forward? I mean, like you said, people turned out and some good numbers, big numbers to say, no, we're not ready to spend this money. My questions are more of, yes, we're in a crazy time, to say the least, right now, with what are the projections for finances. Everything's probably only going to get more expensive in the upcoming years. The needs for a new high school don't just disappear, though. They're only going to worsen in what we see in just physics. But the fact is, like, we have to do what's best for our students. And so I think I would like to know more about the people who voted no. Why exactly? Yeah. Like, were they not, they need more information? Do they not see this project as it was, the final decision as what we should have? We just got to get more collaboration, I think. And that may seem like high hopes for some, but we have to move it forward in some way. And, I would love to help get people excited about a new high school and show them that the money is going to a really good place, and what we're going to do with that money as soon as we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it almost felt like there were some folks coming in later on in the process and saying, well, I don't agree with this, but not really having seen the 2 years of work that went into it and all of the opportunity, or all of the options that were struck down because of, community feedback, or because it wasn't feasible, or it was the wrong, whatever. There's a lot of reasons. So how do we then raise awareness about this without going around to every single person in the community? How do we get that collaboration? How do we get people involved? Thinking of the different kind of just groups in some ways of, we have parents and families who are more so directly invested, the educators, the people who, come to work here every day. And so I think getting, like I said, I think there should be, if you want to get down to the details, like, let's have some open forums, or like just friendly gatherings of how do we move forward? Throw some ideas out there. What gets you excited about a new high school? What are the real reasons, or more specific, not necessarily real, but more specific reasons of the money being the issue? I completely understand no one wants more taxes, more money out of their pocket. But I think there just has to be more time to discuss on a rational basis and a
a level field of how do we move this forward, because as much as parents and families want it, it's still the rest of the community, it has to agree that we're in for this.
Right, and the demographic that shows up to vote is not necessarily all parents and families.
Exactly.
It's folks maybe who don't have kids in the school system or who are on fixed incomes or...
Yes, totally. Yeah. And that's all understandable. That's not lost on anyone, I hope. But again, the reality is that the school needs some updating to keep our students moving forward.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about curriculum now. We'll shift gears a tiny bit. The school department has been working on some updates to the curriculum over the last few years. We've got a literacy curriculum that is brand new at the elementary school level. We're adopting a new one at the middle school level. We're working on math pathways, and there's a committee working on health and physical education standards as well. We don't have those frameworks yet, but that's coming up. What do you see as how the school committee fits into this sort of curriculum development and approval process?
Yeah, so I see it as kind of the checks and balances of, why are we doing this? What are the specifics for the changes and the updates? Why are they needed? Which, I know we've seen some different scores and things like that. But yeah, so I kind of see it as the school committees as the people to get into the nitty gritty of it. What are these exact reasons that, parents, I spoke a little bit about this before, but it's a lot on parents to understand all of it. We rely on the teachers, and I think we want to rely on the school committee and the leadership board to give us what is going to move our students forward in the curriculum, and how that's going to be handled in the day-to-day of the educators. That's still another big part of it. But, if my sons, we've seen a little bit of the literacy, the literacy curriculum updates at Fox Hill, and they have the books he enjoys the books. I've asked him about that a little bit because reading is something he doesn't love.
No, it's not his favorite. That's too bad.
It's not, basketball. But they're always willing to talk to me and give me more information and discuss everything. So I value that. And then with the math, I've heard a little bit. I'm not as experienced in that side with not having, as a personal experience with the math curriculum. But it sounds like from where we came from to what we have now with the different options for middle school and then going into high school with algebra and the other pieces, sounds like they made a great decision in my book.
Oh, great. Okay. So speaking of that, like implementation, where do you think the school district and the school committee have done a good job? And where do you think maybe still needs some work?
Yeah. So I'm excited about how they're using data to drive us forward. Data's in my blood, I would say, but so my current profession is in data. So I truly believe in the validity of using good data to move this forward, because. And that doesn't have to be just numbers. That can be, some good qualitative data on how things are going, just on a one-on-one basis or from educators, et cetera. But yeah, so I think that's a great step forward in looking at that. And I know Dr. Chin and the board and committee have been instrumental in that. I also think there's... we've, in the past several years, we've made improvements in thinking about, like, the lunch, at least at Fox Hill. I'm wondering if it's around the district now. I'm assuming so. With the lunch menu, with the buses, transportation, I know that's always an issue for everyone.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on the special education side of
yes.
transportation.
Yeah.
We could do a whole
That
podcast on that.
Yeah, that is another can of worms we won't open today.
But yeah, so I think we're moving in the right direction and for the right reasons. I think looking at just data I've researched in DESE and across other resources is, I don't want us to fall behind in science and technology. I think math that falls into play.
You mentioned DESE. I just want to make sure people know that's the State Department of Education.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I think we should start sooner than later on science and technology. I know there's only so much, people can do. But for the math curriculum, like I said, I think we're headed in the right direction, and I'd be really excited to be a part of that process and be involved. I personally love math.
Same.
Go math.
Math girls for life.
But I think, just being on the parent side of things, and I would really like to see the school committee. I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm sorry. But communication.
We haven't said that yet
key.
today, I don't think. So,
Fantastic.
it's definitely something important to talk about.
Yeah, because I think, we started out talking, I think a lot of people don't understand exactly what the school committee does and what they're here for. And so I think just getting that kind of little bit more engagement, mobilized around parents and families, would be really helpful. We, through Parent Square, I know we get a lot of information, and it's fantastic. I'm also do websites and things like that in my history, so I would love to see, the Burlington Public Schools website. Maybe get a little revamp and maybe even a little data center in there of seeing some of these, a little more transparency in what these surveys are telling us and how the board and committee are taking those insights and being active with them.
Okay, wonderful. So, we've talked about sort of the school committee role in curriculum design, implementation, things like the teachers are implementing, let's just be clear. But
Yes.
We don't have school committee members teaching classes as far as I know. But now what about the parent role? Where do you think that parents' rights over school and education and professional judgment on the part of the school administration, district administration, and teachers begin?
Oh, that's a maybe a can of worms. No. Well, I think honestly, in my experience, I feel like it's, I'm going to say individualized, but I mean, all parents and families have their own opinions and kind of philosophy with school and how they expect it to be handled. Yeah. I know I have some friends that are like, the kids at school, the teacher's going to, they know best. They're going to handle things.
Teachers are going to take care of the teacher part.
Yeah. And they come home and that's time for, home time.
Yeah.
And then there's others that, we do a lot with outside school activities as well. So, I think it's, I 100% advocate for collaboration, communication, two-way street. I know that's not always easy, but on so many bases, it's it's I think helping the families, I don't say get what they want, but understanding the families and where they're coming from can go a long way. Than just kind of ignoring things or just kind of, let's have a response. I like a response, even if it's not what you want to hear, more than just kind of silence. And in my experience, not necessarily with Burlington, but definitely in special education, sometimes you got to push a little bit more. And maybe that should always be on the parents, but also some families and parents, I think there has to be like a good question of like where, or maybe a couple of questions of where does this fall into policy and personal preference and safety and health of a student versus this is just what I want because it's on my mind right now, or this is our opinion. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, things like that. It's tough. Yeah, they're very specific questions and things that I know people have that I wouldn't even pretend to understand from without hearing from them first.
Yeah. So, kind of going along with that, you partially answered this already, but I just want to give you an opportunity. So if a parent comes to you as a school committee member or to the school committee as a whole, it's a public meeting, about something that's being taught or something that's being not taught in the schools, what do you think a good response is from the school committee?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good one. I know we've had these questions come up in school committee meetings recently. I don't think there should be just a canned, premeditated response necessarily. I think it should always be explored, investigated, if it's complaint, things like that. As far as what's being taught or not taught, my personal philosophy, but as a school committee, I think I would say it's how does this affect the students, families, the educators of safety, whether that's mental or physical, emotional safety. Is it how are others responding to it? If others are involved, I think there's just a lot of questions. I would ask questions before having a response to really understand the situation, not make assumptions.
We're coming to an end here. I do have some final questions for you. There's 4 total candidates, and you are one for 2 seats. So what sets you apart from the other folks that are running alongside you?
Yeah, not to put them all in one group, but I would say, I'm a parent of a current Fox Hill elementary student who will be going, if all goes as planned, to the middle school and to the high school here in Burlington.
Yep.
So I'm very invested personally with how the schools continue and grow in the next several years. But as with my daughter, I've seen, not here, but, in other systems we've been in and other places just around, outside of school, there are a lot of students and families that are being excluded or have problems or issues or just even just things they love, they want to continue. Not to sound all negative, but I love to listen to people and understand their experiences. I want to advocate for people who don't necessarily have the time or energy or understanding or resources to be able to speak up more. So I really want to listen and help progress and be able to help the school committee, learn a little bit more about what families and even community citizens are feeling about the schools.
Great. And what would be your top 2 priorities in the next 3 years? I'm going to ask that again with my face next to the microphone. What would be your top 2 priorities in the next 3 years if you're elected?
My top 2 priorities would be long-term planning, more investment in that and looking ahead, being proactive, I think that also entails working more with other departments of the town government and community. And then my other priority would be, I'm going to include data in all of these and communication. Let's just lump all of that in there. But as far as the communication piece is, that would be bridging gaps, engaging parents and families in the community, definitely in positive ways. There are other things. There's so many modes of communication right now. It's hard to be everywhere, but you want to be transparent and holding everyone accountable too, I think. So I would just like to, I mean, that's kind of a vague general answer, but let's pull all of these resources together, like all of this data that we have, all of the meeting minutes and communication that's going around. Let's pull all these together and make even, I'm going to say a central database, but, you know, a central place where people can come to and say, hey, I have this question, who do I ask? Without going through 5 channels of emails or phone calls. So just bringing together kind of one central place that people can get their answers and speak up, or, you know, whatever they feel like they want from that.
Great. What is one thing that you would like voters to understand about you that they might not already know?
Let's see. One thing. That's tough.
You gotta pick one.
If I had to just say one thing, is I hope voters know that I care. Yeah, I mean, I guess we should hope that everyone cares, but I'm devoted to this and will work really hard for everybody.
Great. All righty. Well, that brings us to an end here today. Hillary Kleck, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And Hillary is a candidate for the school committee election. We will be holding that election on April 11th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at BHS Gymnasium. But early voting will be starting on March 30th and run through April 8th. So if you have any other questions about that, you can check in at burlington.buzz and get all of your election-related information. And we'll see you next time.